So usually people would walk on a straight feet, right? Feet down.
Yeah.
So after the paralysis, the leg was completely bent sideways. So my name is Ankit Shah, originally from India. Have been living in California since 2001. I have polio that I'm going to talk about. What it has done is, fortunately, it only spread to my legs and not the upper part of my body. So before any surgeries, the leg, usually it stays like this. It was like completely bent. So I essentially could not walk at all.
And did they have a vaccine that was widely available in India then, or no?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess what was the reason that you didn't get it?
Yeah, so I think again, my parents have never talked about it. They like not to talk about it, but my suspicion is that my mom chose to go back to her parents' place for the delivery. I suspect that they didn't have as good hospitals or doctors or medication, and my mom is a person who is against vaccination for whatever reason. She doesn't like um, she would try her best to avoid as much vaccination as possible, even nowadays.
And then, so this was a few years into your childhood. You said you kind of, were in and out of hospitals, I think for a few years thereafter. How did this kind of affect you growing up? I mean, was your childhood different? Were you able to do school? Were you able to predict, do things with other friends and stuff? I mean, what was the impact when you were growing up?
Significant, I would say, where most of the kids would be spending their time making friends, new friends at school, exploring activities. I didn't have many of those, or most of those, right? I would spend any available time at hospitals, doctors doing long-term treatments. And so I didn't make good friends in my childhood. Uh, that made me essentially introvert. I'm not very talkative person, or I cannot make friends easily. It essentially affects rest of your life, even though you can think that it only affected your childhood, but in fact, it affects your entire life. I'm very fortunate compared to most of the people with the polio, either symptoms or very severe polio. I was able to have a normal life. Like, I'm married, I have a wife and a daughter. I had a school friend, not very good friend, but one of my school friend also had polio, and I met with him about 10 years ago or so. He was still unmarried, not able to find a spouse, severely depressed because again, their life is not normal.
I'm just curious, I'm sure you've seen news about people who are kind of increasingly skeptical about vaccines, hesitant about vaccines. Somebody petitioned the FDA to remove the polio vaccine. Like all sorts of, crazy things happening nowadays around vaccines. Do you have thoughts about this? Do you think about this? Do you worry that polio might come back?
As a polio victim, I would say no one should suffer from these bad diseases given the vaccines that we have available nowadays. Vaccines have saved tremendous number of lives, and hope we continue that path, and no one even has to face the symptoms that I have faced. Not even the worst, right? I mean, even though I consider myself lucky enough, it takes out a huge portion of your normal life.